There is a bully in this universe that doesn't have a face or a name. It has one specific job: to destroy everything you try to build. Right now, it's busy pulverizing that 1960s Jaguar you spent 30 years hunting down and meticulously restoring to its former glory. The chrome is oxidizing while the engine block slowly turns to rust, erasing every detail you obsessed over and every dollar you poured into its custom work. This isn't happening in a dramatic explosion, but rather in a slow and relentless grind that physicists call entropy. We'd call it chaos. It is the natural direction everything moves when left alone, and the uncomfortable truth is that it simply does not care about your plans. But here things get strange, because while your car is being dismantled, you aren't just standing there watching it happen. You are measuring the decline by checking your watch and counting the seconds as they pass. Tick by tick. And second by second, you are forcing yourself to quantify exactly how much you are losing to this decay. The bully loves this because the act of measurement, that forced, rhythmic counting, is what you have been calling time. It is the tool the universe hands you so you can witness your own destruction in slow motion. Over 100 years ago, starting with Einstein, physicists began describing a reality that doesn't fit with how life actually feels. They described a universe where time isn't moving at all, where the concept of now is strictly local rather than universal. In this model, the past, present, and future aren't flowing anywhere because they are frozen in place within a four-dimensional structure called space-time. All your moments are stacked together like a permanent sculpture, meaning your birth, your death, and this exact moment are all equally real and already finished. If these scientists are right, then you aren't actually moving through time or experiencing a flow of events. You are something else entirely, something stretched out across the dimensions that the bully already finished with a long time ago. Physics paints a picture of a frozen block universe where everything exists at once, but your gut insists that time is a river you are currently flowing through. One of these perspectives is lying to you. One viewpoint is that we already know the brain is not a truth seeker, but rather a survival machine that consistently trades accuracy for speed to ensure survival. When it comes to the bully of entropy and the inevitable dissolution of all things, the mind is perfectly willing to lie to keep its host functional. The destruction you see is real because your car is rusting, your body is aging, and your cells are dying every single day. Everything you have ever built is crumbling toward disorder, which means the bully is winning and your brain can feel that reality deep in your bones. And because your brain cannot function in a world of pure meaninglessness, it refuses to operate in a chaos where your hard work just dissolves into nothing. It cannot handle a reality without a pattern or a story. So, it performs a remarkable trick by forcing you to count. By making you witness the math of your own decline in a specific sequence, it creates the illusion of direction and narrative. It takes the measurement of loss and gives it a name, and that name is time. The question that really matters here is whether time is something you discover out in the universe or something your brain fabricates to survive the assault of entropy. Time only seems to make sense if you are measuring loss and watching something valuable slip away from your grasp. But what if those seconds were never actually slipping anywhere, and your brain simply invented the concept of flow to cope with a universe that is actually static? It is possible that every moment you will ever live is already sitting there frozen, and your brain's only job is to feed them to you one at a time so you don't go insane. Einstein's work hints at this reality by proving that time is not a universal constant that applies to everyone equally. There is no objective now written into the fabric of reality, because what you experience as the present depends entirely on where you are standing and how fast you are moving. Now is a local experience specific to your vantage point, which is exactly what we would expect if time is a mental construct used to process reality rather than a fundamental part of it. Physicists eventually went even further by suggesting that the mathematics of space-time points towards something genuinely disorienting. They propose that the past, present, and future do not unfold in a sequence, but instead exist all at once as a solid four-dimensional block. This would mean your entire life from birth to death is already complete and carved into the universe like a permanent shape. You would essentially be a stretched out, fleshy tube of a creature that only experiences its own length one thin slice at a time, never seeing the whole sculpture or realizing you are already finished. Most people stop listening at this point because the idea violates something deep in their chest and feels fundamentally wrong. It is likely that our sequential processing is just too deeply embedded in our biology for most of us to truly accept a static universe. This way of perceiving the world worked for survival on the savannah, so your brain insists that time is a real thing you are traveling through. Perhaps this isn't just a simple illusion, but a necessary lie and a tool so effective that we have built our entire civilization on top of it. You have to consider the possibility that time isn't a feature of the stars, but a survival mechanism so powerful that we've mistaken it for reality itself. Now, this is where the theory stops being an abstract idea and starts being something your phone is actively proving to you right now. While you're checking your watch or feeling like you're running out of time, satellites orbiting the Earth are conducting a constant experiment. This experiment proves that your entire relationship with time is built on a lie, and it's been running for decades while we've all just kept scrolling. If time were truly universal, flowing at the same rate everywhere like Newton believed before Einstein came along, GPS wouldn't need to do anything special. You would just calculate distance and velocity to find a location, and the math would be simple. But that isn't how the universe actually works. GPS has to constantly correct for a phenomenon called time dilation, which is just a technical way of saying that time moves at different speeds depending on how fast you're traveling and how much gravity is pulling on you. The satellites above you are moving at thousands of miles per hour while sitting much further away from Earth's gravitational field than you are on the ground. Because of those two factors, time is literally passing faster for those satellites than it is for you right now. This isn't a metaphor or a thought experiment. It is a measurable, quantifiable fact of our physical reality. If engineers didn't account for these tiny shifts every single day, your GPS would be off by miles within just a few hours. Your navigation would die, planes would lose their way, and the global supply chain would likely collapse because your phone couldn't find your location. Our entire civilization is held together by a system that only functions because Einstein was right and Newton was fundamentally wrong. Think about the weight of that for a second. You are living in a world where our most basic technology doesn't work unless we accept that our common sense view of time is a total illusion. Every time you open a map app to find a restaurant, you are using a device that serves as a permanent monument to the fact that time is flexible. It stretches and it compresses based on gravity and velocity, yet we just tap the screen and go about our day. This is where physicists start to disagree on what these facts actually mean for us. Some thinkers, like Lee Smolin, fight to save the idea of now from the eternalists by arguing that only the present moment is real. They suggest that the past and future are just memory and prediction, fighting against the block universe model because it feels existentially wrong to them. Smolin is brilliant, but he is also fighting against the mathematics of the universe. And those equations don't care about human intuition. A number of physicists have quietly moved toward a darker conclusion known as eternalism, or the block universe. In this model, all moments exist equally, meaning your birth, your death, and this exact moment right now are all equally real and frozen together in the geometry of space-time. The universe doesn't push forward through time like a movie. Instead, the entire shape of the story was created all at once. When your GPS corrects for time dilation, it isn't actually adjusting for time flowing differently at all. It is calculating how to map a static, four-dimensional structure that is already completely formed and finished. The satellites simply exist in a different part of that structure than you do. The math works because the whole thing is already carved out, and that isn't just philosophy. It's what your phone proves every time it works. This is the point where most people start to feel a sense of panic. We aren't just talking about theoretical physics anymore. We're talking about whether your life has meaning or if your choices actually matter. You want to know if you are actually steering the ship or if you're just a passenger along for the ride. When people hear that time doesn't exist, they immediately jump to the most depressing conclusion possible. They assume everything is predetermined, that their struggles are written in stone, and that every choice they make is just an illusion. It feels like being a puppet watching your own strings get pulled, which leads to the terrifying question of why we should even bother trying. If the outcome is already locked in, why care about building anything at all? But then, just as a vinyl record is finished, it doesn't mean the original tune itself was never played. And just like life itself, it carries a few scratches along the way as evidence of the life it has witnessed. Whatever time really is, at the end of the day, our beliefs make it so. Never was a pun more fitting.